Welcome to a deep dive into, how about this? A deep dive into where the digital and the physical worlds they could clash. And the stakes are huge. We're talking blockchain and energy poverty. Yeah, that tech behind Bitcoin. What if I told you it could be like the missing link to turning on the lights for like billions of people? Crazy, right?
It's definitely one of those things that makes you scratch your head at first. Like, really? Bitcoin for light bulbs? But when you actually think about it, the problems, the core issues of energy poverty, it's about access. It's about infrastructure that just hasn't caught up. And it's about, frankly, limited economic opportunities. And when you look at it that way, blockchain starts to make a lot more sense.
Okay, so I'm biting. Paint the picture for me. What's the scale of this problem? We toss around energy poverty, but what are we really talking about?
Okay, try to really picture this. Almost 1 billion people, never even seen an electric light switched on. Not once. And then billions more. They rely on, like, burning wood, charcoal just to cook a meal. That's their reality. And that reality, it hits everything. It's health, it's education, it's holding back entire economies from growing.
It's massive. And I'm guessing the old ways of doing things, they just aren't cutting it, are they?
That's the thing. We've made progress, don't get me wrong. But the problem's so huge, you need bold ideas, totally new approaches. And that is where, you guessed it, our deep dive into blockchain comes in.
All right, so full transparency, some of us out there haven't exactly, gone full-on blockchain geek yet. Break it down. How does it even work? And how is this more than just like a fancy tool for a cryptocurrency?
Think of it like a digital ledger, right? But instead of some bank, some government being in charge of it, it's held by everybody and nobody all at once. Every single transaction, every watt of energy traded, it's all there on this ledger. And because it uses like really, really strong cryptography, it's transparent, it's secure, and it cuts out the need for those middlemen, the ones who usually control everything.
So it's like this giant tamper-proof record-keeping system, but for energy. I kind of get it, but how does that actually help with energy poverty? Like, what's the real-world change?
Okay, picture this. There's a community way out there, tons of sunshine, but their power grid is, well, it's a mess. Now imagine they set up their own local solar grid, maybe panels on rooftops. Blockchain lets them manage the whole thing, selling extra power to neighbors, tracking the payments, all secure, all fair.
So instead of being at the mercy of some big power company, they're like their own mini energy grid. Total energy independence.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. And honestly, that's just one example. We can use blockchain to completely change how we get and share energy, make it local, make it resilient, and yeah, way more democratic. And for communities stuck in energy poverty, that changes everything. It's huge.
You're making it sound like almost too good to be true. So are there like different kinds of blockchain microgrids, or is this like a one-size-fits-all solution?
That's actually a really great question, and it highlights something really important here. This isn't simple. There isn't just one way to do this. We have different models. We're still overcoming technical challenges. For example, some microgrids, they're designed to be completely on their own, totally separate from the main grid. Others can connect and disconnect whenever they need to. And then there's the whole issue of keeping the grid stable, making sure it all works smoothly with what's already in place. Those are big problems to solve. But that's where the exciting stuff's happening.
Yeah, so we're not just talking about tweaking a few things here and there. This is like fundamentally changing how we think about energy. And not just in, developing countries, but potentially everywhere, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about giving people power. It's about giving them control.
Mm.
Power to the people, right?
Okay, but this whole thing about communities becoming their own energy bosses, it makes me wonder, what about the big guys, the companies that already control energy? Are we talking about like a clash of the titans here?
Now, that is the question, isn't it? Because you've got these huge centralized systems. They've been calling the shots for a century. And on the other side, you've got this new way of doing things, this decentralized, community-driven energy production. It's all made possible by blockchain. So yeah, it's definitely disruptive. How the big energy companies adapt, or if they even can, that's going to be really interesting to watch.
We've talked about solar panels, microgrids, but I got to ask, are there other ways blockchain can help tackle energy poverty? What else is out there?
Oh, absolutely. There's so much potential. For example, there's some really cool work being done with, get this, biogas digesters. Yeah, biogas digesters in rural communities.
Biogas digesters. Okay, you're going to have to break that one down for me.
So basically, you have these systems that take organic waste, think like leftover crops or even, livestock manure. And they break it down and make biogas, which you can then use for cooking, heating, even generating electricity. It's pretty amazing.
Right.
Now imagine combining these digesters with, you guessed it, blockchain technology.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So you could create this whole system where families or, farms, if they're making more biogas than they need, they could sell it to their neighbors. And it's all tracked and managed through the secure blockchain platform. It's brilliant. You're creating income opportunities, you're boosting local energy independence, and you're reducing reliance on those old polluting energy sources.
The ripple effects are huge when you think about it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that always gets me. How do you even pay for all this?
Okay.
Especially in places already dealing with poverty. It can't just be good intentions, right?
You're right. It takes more than just good vibes. It's actually a combination of things. You have those organizations, the NGOs, doing amazing work with pilot projects. Then you have governments who are starting to realize the long-term benefits and offer incentives. And then you've got the private sector. They're seeing the potential here, the money to be made, and they're starting to invest.
So it's not just about charity. It's about building a system, an ecosystem, where everyone has skin in the game.
Yeah.
Everyone benefits.
And it's really interesting. There's this whole trend emerging where cryptocurrency mining itself is being used to literally fund these energy projects. Remember how we talked about blockchain being super secure?
Yeah.
Well, that's security. It takes a lot of computing power, a ton of energy to maintain it. So you have people basically using their computers to solve complex equations, and they get rewarded with cryptocurrency. That's the mining part.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of mining, but I don't quite see the link to helping energy poverty.
Think of it this way. Instead of just mining cryptocurrency to, make a profit, what if you could use that process to also generate electricity for a whole community? It's like you're doing good while also, doing well.
Two birds, one stone. Or maybe 2 coins, 1 solar panel. Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
But speaking of, the whole energy thing, our research, it did bring up some, let's say, concerns about the environmental impact of blockchain and all this cryptocurrency mining. What's the deal with that?
It's a really good point, and honestly, it's something we can't ignore in this conversation. The energy use of some blockchain networks, especially like the older ones, it's definitely a concern. But here's the thing. That concern, it's pushing everyone to innovate. So now you've got newer blockchain platforms. They're way more efficient, way less energy hungry, and there's a whole movement towards only using renewable energy for mining.
So it's you want to make sure the solution isn't actually adding to the problem.
Exactly. Sustainability, it's not optional. And that actually brings us to another really cool thing. Using blockchain to make use of energy that would otherwise just be wasted or, underutilized.
Okay, so energy lemonade from energy lemons. You mentioned the mining thing. What else we got?
Oh, there's more, for sure. One study we looked at, they talked about a company using, get this, flared methane. That potent greenhouse gas that's often just burned off in oil and gas production. They're using it to mine Bitcoin so that they're making money, but they're also cutting down on those harmful emissions. It's pretty brilliant.
That is wild. Blockchain incentivizing actual environmental solutions. Okay, but switching gears a tiny bit here, our research also dug into these blockchain-powered microgrids. How do those actually work in the real world?
Okay, so picture a small, totally self-contained electricity network. Maybe it's a village somewhere remote. They're powered by solar panels. This is their microgrid, totally separate from the main grid. Now, blockchain. Think of that as the operating system for this whole thing. So let's say you've got tons of sun, more solar power than you need. Blockchain lets you seamlessly sell that extra energy to your neighbor, and it's all tracked. It's all transparent, no funny business.
So it's its own tiny energy market, but just for that community.
And
like it.
Exactly. And it lets people be both the energy producers and the energy consumers. They're in control. And this isn't some far-off idea either. There's a case study in Africa where a community is already doing this, managing their local solar grid with blockchain. They're getting more energy, it's cheaper, and some folks are even making money off it.
That's amazing. It's they skipped over that whole traditional energy grid step and went straight to something way better. Okay, but, and I hate to be a downer, but with all this good stuff, there's got to be some downsides, right? Some challenges.
You're 100% right. Blockchain itself, it's just technology, it's neutral, but how we use it, that has consequences. We have to be very aware of the potential downsides and honestly think ethically about all this.
Okay, so hit me with it. What are the downsides? What do we need to be careful about?
One of the big ones is privacy. Blockchain, it's all about that transparent ledger, right? But when you're dealing with something as personal as energy use, how do you make sure people's information is protected? That's huge. And then there's the question of access. How do we make sure that everyone benefits from this, not just the people who already have resources or, are tech savvy? We don't want to make inequality
That's
worse.
to be for everyone, right? Not just a select few.
100%. And that takes planning. It takes those communities being involved from the start, and it takes education. People need to know what's going on, how to use this tech, so they can shape how it's used, not just have it imposed on them.
It can't just be about the tech being cool. It has to be about the tech being fair. I like it.
And then there's the other big one we touched on, the environment. Yeah, we talked about energy use, but what about all the stuff you need to make blockchain work? The computers, the hardware, that has an environmental impact too.
So it's about like the whole picture from start to finish, making sure it's actually sustainable.
Exactly. We can't just pretend there are no downsides. We have to be honest about those, invest in making things more sustainable, and never stop thinking about the environmental impact of all this.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. We've gone from like blockchain 101 to how it can completely change how we get energy, to how it can help with energy poverty, which is huge. But with all this potential, it seems like there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. What's the big takeaway for everyone listening?
The big takeaway, and this is key, is that blockchain isn't some magic solution, It's not going to fix everything overnight, but it's a really powerful tool. And if we use it the right way, thoughtfully, carefully, it could help create a much better energy future, more sustainable, more fair. But that future, it depends on us making smart choices, talking to each other honestly, and remembering that technology should be working for us, not the other way around.
Progress, not just like tech for tech's sake.
Exactly. It's about using blockchain to light up not just homes and businesses, but also a better path forward for everyone.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential issues, the need to be smart about how we use this tech. But it's easy to get stuck on the what ifs. What I'm really wondering is, what does a future where all this works actually look like? Paint me that picture.
That's the big question, right? The million-dollar question. But just imagine a world where energy, affordable, reliable energy, it's not some luxury. It's just how things are, even for the people who've always been left behind, even the most remote communities, everyone.
Okay, that's the dream, for sure. But how do we actually get there from where we are now?
It takes more than just one thing. We need governments to step up, create policies that make sense, policies that encourage renewable energy and blockchain, but not just any policies. They have to be designed with fairness and sustainability in mind.
You're right, because we've seen those policies that look good on paper, but don't actually change anything for the people who need it most.
Exactly. It has to be about real change. And that takes, honestly, everyone working together, governments, businesses, the people doing the research, and most importantly, the communities themselves. We can't leave anyone behind. We need to close that digital divide, make sure people have the knowledge and the tools they need to not just benefit from this stuff, but to be in charge of it.
They need to be the ones driving this, not just along for the ride.
100%. Picture this. There's a village somewhere in Africa. They've got a blockchain-powered microgrid, the farmers. They're powering their irrigation systems. They're storing energy to use later. And get this, they're even making money selling their extra energy back to the grid. Or how about this? A community high up in the Himalayas, they're using blockchain to manage their own hydropower system, making sure everyone has access to this precious resource.
Taking control of their own energy destiny. That's powerful.
And it's not just about the energy, right? It's about what that energy makes possible. It's about people having better lives, better health, more opportunities. It's about a world that's actually fair, where energy poverty is something we only read about in history books. That's what we're talking about.
It's a powerful vision. And it really drives home the point that this whole thing, it's not just about like the tech, the algorithms, it's about people's lives.
Exactly, 100%. And that's what makes this conversation so important. It's bigger than just the technical stuff. It's about how we want our world to be. And that means asking tough questions about power, about fairness, about how we treat each other, all of it.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive. I mean, we started from scratch, talking about what blockchain even is, then how it can shake up the whole energy system. And then, of course, this amazing potential to tackle energy poverty, which just blows my mind every time I think about it. But as we're wrapping up here, what's the one thing, the big takeaway, that you really want people to remember from all of this?
Here's the thing I hope sticks with you. The future of energy. It's not set in stone. It's being decided right now by the people working on this tech, the people making the rules, the activists, and honestly, every single person listening to this right now. The choices we make today, they're going to determine what that future looks like. Will it be bright? Will it be sustainable? Will it be fair for everyone? It's all up for grabs.
It's not enough to just hope for the best. We got to make it happen.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, we're going to leave you with this. What's your role going to be in shaping the future of energy? How will you help create a world where blockchain technology is used for good, where it's not just about lighting up homes and cities, but about lighting the way to a brighter, more equitable future for everyone? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.